taking tremendous coordinating the whole event for today. And thank you all the participants who joined today, especially on a weekday. I hope I can definitely take feedback from your end as well, and I hope I can give some of my experience, which I will really love to share about the topic for today. So we'll start. As the topic suggests, the reason for today's topic being taken up is we majorly focus on the pre-writing readiness as a means of learning, which has to be extremely mindful. And the reason for the same is that most of the times, the pre-writing and the writing skills need to happen in a coordinated manner with most of the children. And when this coordination happens, it becomes easier for children to enjoy the process of writing as well as pre-writing. And once that interest gets cultivated, the entire flow happens much more smoothly, which is what we primarily believe. So, why we look at preschool readiness in terms of writing readiness for primary and secondary grades is because when we are looking at the skills, we need to have a good foundation of learning before we actually go on to sharpen the skills. So that is why today's webinar would focus on the components of hand skills and why it is important for educators to know, because they're the first point of contact with the child. They spend a maximum time during the hours where children actually learn a lot of skills in the company of peers. So it enables the educators to have an idea of how peer-based learning happens. Now, this is in opposed to learning at home, which is more child-centric, one-on-one with the parent and the child. However, in a school setting, the children participate with other children of their age to sharpen and harness their skills. Another important aspect is learning the developmental sequence of pre-writing and writing. And of course, we need to understand what are the tips and the tricks for easy learning. What are the materials which you can use as educators, tools or games or fun activities within the classroom so that children pick up the skills in a playful manner. And the most important thing is the retention of the skills is a long-standing process, so that retention happens much more easier. Another concept which is also beneficial to understand is use of the finger gym and brain aerobic activities for children so that they harness and improve their fingers and hand muscles strength more easily and in a playful way. And then, of course, the early start pre-writing program, which helps most of the children to pick up the skill level in terms of development much faster. So the outcomes what we're looking at is that the educator needs to understand what is the developmental sequence, which is the current level at which the child is presenting with in either a classroom setting or if there is a learning at home also happening. Is there an actual need for a detailed assessment? And by assessment, I mean the developmental learning sequence has to be identified at a specific age. So if you're really looking at 2.5 years of age or even lesser than that, there are multiple skills which need to be focused on before we actually go to the pre-writing followed by the writing. So that is what is my next point, where we talk about the skills which are needed for the higher order skills. Most important aspect is, do we need to intervene? Many children can manage on their own when it comes to the skill learning, and you need not intervene. However, we need to be really vigilant and thoughtful about when to actually consult or speak to a specialist. And the most important aspect in pre-writing is that you need a consistent follow-up in different situations. So we're not really looking at a school-based setting alone. We're looking at home environments. We're looking at transition to situations where children are in a play situation and they need to incorporate pre-writing or writing tasks in different activities. So the consistency of having the same skill being worked upon in different settings is very essential. So whenever we speak to educators, the most important thing is that the gross motor skills for any child are very important to have a basic foundation of learning. So when we mean gross motor, we are actually looking at multiple skills under gross motor. Now, in simple terminology, gross motor means the use of the muscles, which are the larger muscles of the body, that is the shoulder muscles or the hip muscles, big muscles which coordinate together and they work in sync to develop components such as the laterality, which is the identification and awareness of either the right or the left side of the body. And the most important aspect, that those sides differ from each other. Now, as we all know, laterality is so important for children because unless there's a clear representation of the side of the body where a dominant side emerges, we do not have a clear understanding of which hand is the child going to use for simple basic tasks such as eating food, cutting with a scissor, and of course writing. So writing is the last set what we're looking at primarily. Once that development of laterality comes in, so most of the children start having a clear-cut emergence of laterality by 2.5 years of age, because that is the age where scissor skills come in. So the pre-occurrence of laterality may come by about 1.5 to 2 years also, where children show a preferred hand for using a object, or it could be an instrument such as maybe a crayon or a chalk. We always look for a preferred hand dominance before the age of 2.5 or 3.5 also. The reason is that there may be a change in dominance. However, after 2.5 years of age, if you're looking at an undeveloped dominance, it has to be a matter of concern. The reason being that the concepts which are needed in terms of skill-based learning, such as language, which involves prepositions and so on, will later tend to get affected, because when children's body awareness is not consistently observed. So by body awareness, we mean that the child should be able to identify his or her own body parts and how they are interrelated to each other. So whenever we're doing an evaluation of body parts, we generally prefer to do it in front of the mirror so that the child can actually see where his body parts are, rather than simply pointing out, because at a younger age, it becomes very difficult for children to associate without vision. So laterality and body part awareness are very much important in the gross coordination, following which the child develops a concept of midline crossing. This is the midline which divides the body into two parts. Now, when this crossing over happens, children need a good coordinated shoulder stability. So that is the shoulder girdle, the shoulder and the back muscles. They need to keep the body firm enough and stable so that the shoulder can move to the opposite side. And the reason for the same is, if that does not happen, children tend to have a slouched posture in sitting, and that can emerge at a young age. So we generally educate parents about having physical or motor tasks incorporated through play at an early age. And we don't really want to have activities such as jumping or skipping or games or going to the playground as a part of a sport. So we want children to have a naturalistic play situation, that is going to the garden, participating in physical activities either at home, it could be with a group of friends. Using natural environments for play skills is always beneficial. So by that I mean going on a playground. Children do visit play gyms, they go to play areas. However, these are padded zones which really are not sufficient enough to have the core muscle strength developing, because the base of any play area has a bouncy effect. So especially a word of caution that children below the age of 6 years should not be participating in any play environments where the ground is not firm enough. So places such as the trampoline parks or trampolines are definitely not beneficial, because children do not have a good body core strength and body awareness to use their jumping skills, which normally come by about 2 years of age. So why motor skills are extremely important is because when the musculoskeletal system of the body is strong enough and there is a good tone, children can keep the neck straight, the back straight, and that position is needed for development of pre-writing skills. So any kind of a physical activity where they need to take weight on their hands, their body weight, is always beneficial for children for, of course, developing the pre-writing readiness, but at the same time, it helps to develop their level of attention. So in preschool learning, we always recommend having energizing activities before children move on to sit down tasks. So that energizer helps them to get a better understanding of the environment and then allows them to regulate their body movements and their body posture when they're sitting. Now, this is actually a cheat sheet where we talk about handwriting, which is such a simple terminology, but this is all what goes in the whole process of integrating the skills. So when we talk of a weak core and a hand strength of children, we are actually looking at the posture, the attention. So most of the children who are school going, especially those going in morning schools, tend to have a lot of attention issues because two major factors which need to be considered in school going children post, of course, COVID has been significantly observed that there is a change in the lifestyle, primarily sleep. So if children have not slept well at night and they've had less than 10 hours of sleep at the age of 2.5 to 3.5, it dramatically affects their level of attention in the classroom, which also affects the level of task performance in school. A major impacting factor which has significantly changed learning is that children need to be fresh when they come in the morning. So it's always advisable to give a feedback to the parents that they need to have a bath when they come in the morning. So many children actually go back and have a bath. So the point is that they need to be refreshed in the morning. Simply getting up out of bed is not really advisable because all these factors contribute to the end result of paying attention and participating in tasks which require fine motor skills. So the same situation goes into primary years. Secondary year children can regulate themselves much better, especially with the sleep aspect. And the third most important factor is hydration. So these are the three most commonly neglected factors, even by pediatricians, and they're not considered that significant enough. But as therapists, we definitely advise teachers to take these factors into consideration. So I'll just repeat. The first one is a good sleep. Second is children need to be fresh. They need to have a bath before they come. And the third most important thing is they need to be hydrated when they come to school. Maybe a small snack in the morning, like a fruit, would be definitely advisable before they go to school. And this applies to all ages from play school up to primary and secondary years. Now, why that is there? Because the morning and start of the day should not be a rushed scenario. If we expect children to get dysregulated in the morning and come to school and get regulated, that is definitely not going to happen. So if we want children to be enjoying the task of participating in school-based activities, we need to educate parents to focus on holistic sleep habits. Another important aspect is the core muscle strength. So a lot of times we have parents who speak about children participating in various physical activities such as yoga, it could be gymnastics, aerobics, sports, and so on. Yet we see that the core muscles have never been worked upon. And the reason for that is they do not have a good co-contraction of the joints as well as the muscles. So what do we mean by co-contraction? A child should be able to develop his or her own balance. So by 3 years of age, children have to be able to balance on one leg. And why is that important? When children have to wear their pants or where they have to wear their socks, either they sit down on the floor or on the chair or the sofa. We want it to come naturally. So if they have to wear their pants, are they able to do so when they are standing? So standing on one leg is a very important skill. That is the first skill of the core. Children should be able to take their body weight. So they should be able to squat. They should be able to perform animal walks. These are the exercises which improve their core. And of course, once the core muscles improve, then the level of attention invariably improves because body awareness, as I mentioned earlier, is one of the key pointers to a good level of shoulder control, which improves the wrist as well as the finger muscles. Then, of course, you have the hand strength, which is the final product which we actually see. So the hand strength not only is the muscles of the hands, of the fingers specifically, but also the wrist strength. And you have the forearm also. So why all these are important? Because stabilization of each joint helps children to get a better output. That is why if children have difficulty with holding a pencil, we need to go back and check how is the shoulder reacting. Let them participate in their daily chores as much as possible. So it's always advisable that even if a child is, say, 2 years of age, they need to work on eating independently. That's extremely important. They need to participate in having a bath, taking simple instructions as preparing the school bag, so putting their bottle, packing their tiffin. And why we encourage these things at an early age? Because there is more organization developing. Children need to participate in household chores, that is, organizing their play area, participating in tasks such as folding clothes, helping with cleaning, dusting activities. This is very essential because you cannot have children constantly occupied the whole day. So it cannot be like you cannot have a set of activities delineated for them. Let the learning happen through naturalistic methods, and that's extremely important for them. So let them participate in things such as opening, closing the fridge door, opening the car door, turning doorknobs, wringing clothes, folding clothes. Very important. That enables natural development of the hand muscles. A very essential factor in pre-writing readiness is visual perception. I'm quite sure that everybody is aware of these components of perception. However, why they are so tremendously focused upon is because each component needs to be practiced in detail. So perception is the ability to understand anything which comes in the field of vision, through hearing, through taste, through touch, through movement, through sensations which are internal. That is the ability to feel hungry or thirsty. So these components are a part of perceptual learning and also sensory processing. So if you see in this pyramid, the sensory processing skills are at the bottom, which are needed, followed by the perception as well as the control of the muscles of the eye, that is ocular control. So it is always advisable that all children who have enrolled in schools need to have a vision and hearing evaluation compulsory, as mandated by the school's ideology. And the reason for the same is we tend to miss out a lot of children who might actually have difficulty identifying what is there when the far vision is concerned. And the reason for the same is the number of devices which are usually used, like cell phones or iPads, work on close near vision. So they can read whatever is nearby, but what is far away, it's very difficult. So it's essential that once the screening is done, we clearly know that there is no visual concern. And in spite of that, perceptual deficits occur. Now, the deficits mean deficits with identifying the figure from the ground. So the main figure. So what is written on the board and what is around the board. The child should be able to filter it out. The next component is visual closure. Now, closure means a picture which might have been partially drawn, and the child has to identify what exactly it could be. Then, of course, you have memory. So, is the child able to identify pictures shown to him or her, or pictures which have been given in a specific sequence, which is called as sequential memory? All these perceptual components come into the basic realm of discrimination. That is the ability to differentiate pictures from each other. So you might either have a set of 3 pictures and one is different. And how these things, the perceptual components affect learning, because it affects everything right from colors, shape, alphabets and letters. We do not want to rush on to alphabets and numbers, because when the basics of perceptual learning are not taken into consideration, that is if children do not know concepts of shape, concepts of size, concepts of spatial understanding, that is up, down, in, out, and so on, how do you expect them to go to academic learning situations? And there has to be a very strong understanding of this basic foundation. A lot of times parents are tremendously focused on academic based learning, and that is like constructing a building with few pillars just skipped out. So we do not want the foundational skills and the handwriting mechanics to develop on a foundation which is very weak. And that is why schools need to focus majorly on perceptual learning skills for academic purposes. So, concepts of understanding contrasts such as black and white or using shade color combinations for school based learning definitely enables a better level of attention and a good retention on part of the children. So, usage of dots for identifying concepts such as number value and so on really helps children to focus better. And naturalistic learning is very essential for perceptual development. So, children actually need to move out of the house to see what is around them. So, a visit to the nature park close by or to a garden is definitely an eye opener, which has to be incorporated so that children learn to differentiate things in the environment first, and then they need to move on to academic scenarios. So when we speak about hand skills specifically, these are the skills which are used by the fine motor muscles of our body. So we also have fine motor skills divided into hand skills and the skills of the feet and the toes. So there is always a complex interplay of the muscles, the joints, and the nerves in the whole picture. So when we look at the finger muscle strength, we're not only looking at just the four fingers, but also the thumb. And why the thumb is very important, because that's how we differentiate ourselves from animals. And when the thumb strength is not good enough, it's the first indicator that the child's grasp is definitely going to be impaired. So when we're looking at hand skills, we're looking at individual finger movements with the thumb in opposition. This is the opposition movement. Why they are so important is because as educationists, when we focus on the grasp, we also have to look at the movements which occur at the individual joints, the movements which occur with each set of the thumb and individual finger, the movement patterns which get created, which I'll be speaking upon. And then when the child has to use that coordinated unit together, then you can apply it in concepts such as dance forms or any kind of art based situation, or it could be sports and even using specific gear such as a bicycle, or it could be a racket and so on. So we normally want sensation to come in, of course, when we talk about hand skills. We also need precision, that is the ability to use each finger muscle appropriately. The strength, and most important, is of course the coordination along with awareness. Children need to plan at an early age. So let children be in charge of the situation where they need to work on a vertical surface. So normally for hand skills, it's always recommended that the age-old technique of using a board, a blackboard, or a black so you could use a magnetic paper, or you could use a black sheet of paper, and the thick chalks which children used in earlier years is definitely beneficial. Any vertical surface is definitely beneficial to develop a good control of the shoulder as well as the elbow and wrist stability. So when we talk about child development, parents need to have an understanding of development of the hand muscles, which starts at a very young age. So the moment when babies put fingers in their mouth, that is where they reach the midline like this. Initially, the palms are, the hand is in this position. So it's a fisted position. Then they open up as they grow older. So they hold things and then they release them. Once they release them, they learn to throw them. Getting or putting toys in the mouth is one of the easiest way for children to feel the textures. So this development needs a major focus. When the baby or the small infant is going to put it in the mouth, if it is immediately removed, they might absolutely not understand how to feel the particular texture. So it's very essential that sensorial play helps infants and toddlers and children learn better. So uses of textures such as could be sand, it could be water, it could be slime, it could be clay, it could be use of naturalistic flowers, stones, pebbles, sticks, twigs, leaves is very essential for children to feel how learning can happen through natural means. A very important aspect is reaching for something. So children will learn to reach, which is an understanding of how much distance is needed. And that distance helps them to understand the distance between the lines. So we have to go a very long way before we actually get them to understand the distance between two lines. Another important aspect is when they wave a bye-bye. So by 8 months of age to 9 months of age, babies learn to wave a bye-bye, which is a very simple task initially, but it involves a very complex function of the wrist. So the wrist movement is very important for stabilization when children write. So initially children will pick up with 5 fingers. Then they gradually learn to use lesser number of fingers. So if we have to go to this ideal grasp position, we have a long way to go from this to this, and then gradually the 2 fingers going down, and then only the 3 fingers stabilizing the writing instrument. So a lot of times, if we have to initiate using instruments, it is always beneficial that writing for readiness, that is pre-writing, should not begin before the age of 3.5 to 4 years. And why is that so? Because the finger muscles are not still developed for participation in tasks. As children grow older, say about 6 months onwards, when they start sitting, a very important aspect is introduction of any materials which could be reading. So reading to babies and infants is very essential, where they actually start using the concept of turning the pages of a book. And of course, as they grow older, stacking objects. These activities can also be used at older ages. So it's not necessary only for infant and the toddler age group. We're also looking at children who are in play school or in the initial kindergarten, nursery and kindergarten years, because each and every skill needs to be refurbished with increased complexity. So turning the doorknobs, which I mentioned, or using a thumbs up is also essential to be evaluated at an older age through activities. So the normal milestones, when we talk about fine motor milestones, a key milestone, of course, is where children emerge from the infancy stage and they go up to the age of 2.5, 3 years, because that is at the age where they have started development of skills. So using a scissor comes by about 2.5 years of age, which could be a plastic scissor, and then you can move on to a metal scissor. Another important aspect is using a dominant hand. So that dominant generally comes by about 3.5 to 4 years of age. So beginning pre-writing skills at this age. However, a major word of cautions, begin with tasks using the finger muscles only. So I would definitely suggest not using a crayon or a chalk whatsoever at an early age. Let them start with finger tracing. The reason being tactile, that is touch related sensation, helps children to learn better. So use media, let them draw shapes. As occupational therapists, we firmly believe that shape drawing is one of the key integral component to developing good handwriting skills in later years. So most of our assessment tests also work on drawing of shapes and lines followed by the alphabet and number writing. Using scissors effectively to cutting shapes is one of the easiest precursors to determine whether children will be able to write better. By 6 to 7 years of age, we're actually looking at them participating in all the daily chores. One, participating in writing tasks, but at the same time using complex skills such as tying shoelaces. So that's a very important skill. However, with schools having the Velcro shoes, the age-old concept of using shoelaces is gradually disappearing. Buttoning is very difficult because many schools do not have shirts which have buttons. So it's mostly t-shirts. So these skills need that extra effort to be practiced because they have been a part of developmental learning assessments all these years. So as we look at the progression of grasp development, we're looking at a pincer grasp, which is at 10 months of age, as you can see, where it's only the pulp of the thumb and the index finger which has been used. Then you go on to holding a writing instrument. So I will be using the word writing instrument because it could be any instrument. So here they have demonstrated a pencil, which is at about 12 to 15 months. It's majorly using the palm. And then the palm has turned downward. So fingers go down and this part will be seen up. That is why, because it is a position which is called as pronation in medical terminology. Then you have a four-finger. Quadru is four. So it's like a four fingers, which are the part of the grasp, which gradually progresses to what we see in older years. That is a static. That means it doesn't move this, but it is a three-finger grasp. So from four fingers, you go to three fingers. And then you have a dynamic. So the grasp can be moving. So as the letters or the shapes or the pictures drawing moves, the fingers will accommodate the same. And that is why we prefer introduction of any pre-writing tasks at the age of 3 and above. So why we do not encourage so? Because the bones, the tendons and the ligaments are still in the developing stage and they're not really so strong enough. And hence children cannot take so much strength. So if you're going to look at piano or guitar or any musical instrument classes at an early age, it's definitely not going to be beneficial for children because that is not the developmental age that they are supposed to be participating to develop the skill. And when children experience failure at an early age, it becomes very difficult to reinforce the learning pattern. So the pattern should be introduced at an age where they're actually physically ready to do so. So coming to the basics of foundation, we spoke about the shoulder strength, using effectively the hand. So one dominant hand, of course, strength of the finger and the hand muscles, using touch as a means of learning, and of course the finger skills which are needed for the foundation of fine motor skills. Now, a very important aspect in the hand is that the thumb and the two fingers is the skill side. So this is where the writing instrument is majorly held. However, we also need to understand that these two fingers, that is the ring and the little finger, have what is called as a stabilizing side. So this helps to keep the hand in position. It supports the hand. So children who do not have a very good strength of the stabilizing side also have a difficulty with pre-writing tasks. So this separation should be focused on in activities which happen every day in the household as well as in the school. So why we look at hand dominance coming in, and that's important because children will have reversals coming in at an early age. Reversals are physiological up to the age of 6 years, as medical professionals put it across. The reason being that the representation of right and left in the brain can still be flexible, and children may have a confusion of B and D or P and Q or 6 and 9, even up to the age of 5 and 6 as well. To put it immediately under a scanner and saying that there could be a delay, so you first need to actually check back that does the child have a hand preference and a hand dominance or not. So children who are left dominant always will have a clear dominance right from the beginning. And it is always good to educate parents that the change in dominance is not to be encouraged. So they should not shift from left to the right, because this is a very common cultural practice that using the left hand for writing is not considered feasible. However, it creates a havoc in the representation of the concept of the right and left. So I'll explain you why. Our hand, if you place it on our head, that is a representation of the hand in the brain. So it is such a huge area that if that part gets confused with right and left, then children are going to have errors in terms of the right and the left side of the body. It starts with that. And then, of course, it comes to letters and numbers and so on. So you could also have children who keep on changing the writing instrument or even using hands for eating. So once they might eat with just one hand, then they might change the hand, and at times they might eat with both the hands. So this confusion should be eliminated by 3.5 to 4 years of age. And then there is a confusion because which hand to use. So also a word of caution that if your child is a left-handed child, parents should be advised to inform the school that a left-handed child needs a different positioning in the classroom also. And the earlier the parents inform the school, the better. Because many a times what happens is children keep on shifting the hand and the teacher may actually not be aware of it in a school setting. So I have always firmly believed that if a child can cut well with scissors, writing becomes a very easy journey, especially pre-writing and writing. And the reason for the same is that writing is a much more complex skill, I agree, but scissor skills are even more complex because you need to navigate an instrument with the fingers open. In using a instrument such as a pencil or a crayon or a chalk, you need to bend your fingers. Here the fingers are open. That's even more complex. And this is the skill what we are actually going to look at. So before we actually go to this skill, you need to start with the concept of tearing paper. A very simple task which has been practiced in schools since times immemorial, however, was never given importance earlier because most of the children could naturalistically do it. Today, children are not allowed to tear paper. So you actually initially have to start with slightly tearing the paper first and then allowing them to tear it, because this movement is essential before they actually go to cutting the paper with scissors. So rolling the clay, making balls of clay, pulling out clay. These fine motor activities are very essential for children to coordinate the finger muscle strength. And if the amount of time invested on this is increased, it becomes very easy for further learning to happen. So when we talk about scissor skills, they really help children with better awareness. You could also start with a thicker paper and then go on to thinner papers when it comes to cutting shapes and so on. Many a times we see that children would not have a good control when it comes to holding a scissor. So it is always advisable to search for scissors which are wider. That is, one eye is bigger and the other eye is smaller. Because children need to know where to use the finger, that is the two fingers, as opposed to the thumb, and put it in which eye, so that the open close movement occurs easily. This is what we normally work on. When the child is holding the scissors, we do open and close first so that they can judge how effectively can the pressure be changed. Once that judgment of pressure comes, only then we move on to cutting. Many a times children have thumbs down. So we normally encourage using a thumbs up thing by first using the thumb up and then moving it down to move the scissor as they cut over the pieces of paper. In scissor skills, a very important aspect is stabilization of the paper with the other hand. That is very important. So once the child can hold the paper and cut at the same time, that takes a bit of time. That generally happens by about 3 years of age. So we are really looking at first simply snipping the paper with one hand only. We cannot expect both skills to come together at the same time. Now moving on to posture. So why posture of the child is very important? Because a major factor which really helps, I will just show the picture. It's coming up. In case if I don't, I'll just share it. So why the posture of the child is important? Because in a classroom setting, it's very essential that children have to have their feet firmly on the ground. Their back has to be resting. As you can see in this picture, the back is firmly resting on the with the chair, touching the chair. The buttocks are firmly resting on the seat. The knees are bent, and this is an ideal position. So even when we choose the table, which is used for the children, a lot of times the elbow should be firmly resting on the table, not too high, not too low. So this is a position. This is how a table is actually chosen in a classroom setting. So schools definitely have to take that extra effort to ensure that the height of the child should be commensurate with the position of height of the table when they're performing any pre-writing or writing task. Because if the elbow does not gently and firmly rest on the table, then the skill of writing is definitely going to be affected. And of course, when we talk about the way we hold the pencil or the crayon, the wrist has to be on the sheet of paper. I spoke about left and right-handed children. So the focus is that a right-handed child is going to turn the page or the sheet to the left side, and a left-handed child is going to turn it to the right. So we do not want these children to clash together in a classroom setting. So it's always advisable that the left-handed child should sit on the right side. So the right-handed child is on the outside and the left-handed child is on the inside, or preferably keep them on separate tables so that the writing and the functional skills do not get compromised. So, one second. I will keep in mind about the scissor, but I think I have that picture, but I'm not sure. So when we talk about development of grasp, a lot of children may not really get the grasp coming in. So we use some tools such as using a clip where the pencil is used in between and the stabilization occurs. Kindly keep in mind that these are used only for the development of the position. We will have to eliminate these as children get a better control. So there is also a ball which is used. This is actually a bigger bead which can be also inserted. The pencil has to be inserted into it, or you could also use a rubber band to hold them firmly. So the ball is actually resting. The bead is resting on in the palm of the hand, and you hold that position. This is for demonstration, so that children know exactly how to hold the instrument. Now here the pencil is thinner. With younger children, the thicker the instrument for coloring or for writing, the better. This has been done using a thicker pencil and a wooden block in which the pencil has been kept so the child can have a better hold over the pencil. And when I spoke about stabilization of the two sides of the hand, that is the skill side and the stabilizing side, this is what I meant, where you are using the strength of the individual finger muscles. So this is a pencil holding, and here you can keep a textured object where the child presses on it. So many times children use all the fingers while holding a pencil, or they might keep the hand very firm on the pencil so that the hand is completely closed. When we look at use of the hand for pre-writing purposes, we are looking at an open web space. So this is how we write. So this is the part which is, one second. Can you see this hollow has to be there? It cannot be completely closed. Some children actually write like that. So we don't want a closed space. We want an open space. So that open space can be encouraged by using. So you could either keep clay, you could keep a paper rolled into a ball, and so on. We also use some tricks such as using a sock. Many children cannot use only differentiate the side of the hand. So use of a sock so that they develop the control. Always keep in mind, we know of these things because then children become dependent. You could also use a rubber band for improving the strength of the finger muscles and reducing the pressure. This is also for children who put a lot of pressure while writing and who do not keep the wrist on the sheet. There has been an increase in the use of grippers. So gripper is something which is like a plastic material which has either 3-finger hold or just like these, but the initial ones which I showed are of metal, so they can be removed, but the gripper will stay on the pencil. So the disadvantage of a gripper is because if the gripper is used for a longer duration of time, the grasp has changed dramatically. When the gripper is removed, children have unlearned how to hold the pencil or the crayon. So gripper is beneficial only for those children whom you feel have significant issues with writing. So either the muscle tone will be very poor or so on. So as a teacher, you need, especially if you have integrated learning patterns for children with specific needs, kindly consider use of a gripper with judicial thought. In a mainstream school, we do not want children to be relying exclusively on grippers. So this is somewhere like a modified gripper position where this has been made. So this is for a child who has a specific need. Maybe the muscle strength is not good enough, but the child is cognitively able to manage, can understand what to do. However, the strength being poor, it makes it difficult for them to write. So such modifications can be done for children. This is use of magnets or metal materials which are put on the, like the nuts, which are used, nuts and bolts technique, where they're used to increase the pressure for children who have a very light way of writing. Now these can be accommodated. So you can keep it on the crayon or the pencil so that they have a good pressure, and once the pressure starts coming in, you can wean it off. This sheet I highly recommend educators to have so you can identify the early grasp patterns which you see in children, the grasp patterns which are not appropriate, and the grasp patterns which are functional. So the definition of functional means they're needed for writing in everyday patterns. in the school environment. A very important factor which educators, especially teachers working in school settings, can do, like a primer activity before they begin with classroom activities, is use of in-hand manipulation skills. So this chart is a self-explanatory way of increasing resistance of the strength. Especially resistance gives a lot of strength to the finger muscles. So using different objects, here they've used a ball, a disc, and a roll. Three things, but they can ensure that all finger muscles and all finger related activities are taken care of. Using the ball in the two fingers individually, along with the thumb and individual fingers, using a ball as five fingers, then bending the fingers over the ball, then going on to, just one moment, I'm just going to take a pause. So sorry. So individual finger muscle strength starts from using bigger objects. So this is the basic guideline for developing use of the instruments which we use for pre-writing purposes. One second. So why that is important? So we start with actually ball crayons or block crayons, and then we move on to crayons which would be of this particular length and thickness. So the more younger the child, the more thicker the pre-writing or the writing instrument, the better for children. I will be showing these in the later slides. So we need to understand that the skills of children are developmentally very important to learn. We do not have to give too much of understanding to parents because it confuses them, but try incorporating these activities. So simply just take a printout and stick it on so that it becomes easier for teachers to pick up these skills and participate along with children in these tasks. So it is a fun learning activity for children too. Now, another aspect where children need to develop before they start using crayons and pencils is using pencil walks. So by the definition of pencil walks, I mean that they have to hold the pencil and move their fingers on the pencil behind. So which is also called as caterpillar crawl, or moving like there is a pole on which you're moving your body. So the aim of these pencil walks is that the child should be able to understand how to move the fingers on the pencil. So the same can be done with crayons also. And a very nice activity is twirling, that is turning the pencil round and round. Also, a word of caution, keep instruments smaller because children, when they're moving it, might simply hurt each other. So these are prep up activities before they move on to higher order activities, and mainly beneficial for the older children, especially primary and so on. We do not really recommend pencil twirls for children in the pre-primary age group because they still do not have so much of good control in moving the pencils. So I do believe that a lot of times learning is based on tracing. So tracing in terms of dotted lines and so on. However, what happens is children who have perceptual deficits do not understand from where to start and stop. They do not have a memory of the alphabet. It does not apply to all the children. Children whom, as a teacher or as an educator, you have found out that the child may have deficits in learning. So it is always beneficial to develop concepts of finger writing, writing on different media or texture. So you could take a stick or a block and let them draw on a squishy bag, or it could be using squirting guns and so on. It could also be things like using spray bottles for with colored liquid so that you press it, develop the strength, make shapes, make letters out of it. So that really helps with alphabet memory. Using chalks, thicker chalks on vertical surfaces are also beneficial for children. It is always advisable to use finger writing as a way of identifying, or you could also use writing with paints. You could use sponges to write or draw shapes, and let children practice the same, because memory of shapes, letters, and numbers is very essential to prevent the confusion which comes with laterality issues such as alphabets or numbers and so on. So the crayons which are available, and today in India we have a huge collections of crayons made in India, especially where there is a big market today because the number of users have the people who have the audience has been so much that thicker crayons are definitely advisable. So two three of the major companies which really have made this possible is a brand called Azafran, there is DOMS, there is Faber-Castell. So these are companies which focus on using ball crayons. You have raindrop crayons, you have hexagonal crayons, triangular crayons. So another manufacturer has been a brand called Uli. When it comes to using these materials, two major factors need to be taken into consideration. One is the cost, of course, and the availability. So when we're looking at brands such as Azafran and DOMS or Faber-Castell, they're still on the lighter side when it comes to the price. But brands like Uli are much more expensive. So look for brands, even Crayola is available. So look at the age of the child when you choose which kind of crayons to use. A very easy one, which is good enough, are these wax crayons. They're actually blocks. Very beneficial for children at a young age to hold and scribble and color and so on. These are finger crayons for individual finger, but they do not work in coordination because you can't use two colors at the same time. That requires coordination because each finger is used for each crayon. So we recommend crayons which are broader so that children can hold them and make firm strokes when they color or draw. So you also get crayon blocks like these, which give them a better hold and they have ease in terms of drawing the strokes. So these are the developmental crayons. So Faber-Castell actually came up with this concept of using age groups, kindergarten and older. So they've specified the age specifically for children, where you have ball crayons, which is the first, then you have the dewdrops or the raindrops, and the bigger ones. So also keep in mind that these two are easily manageable for children to hold. You could actually reverse this crayon, the dewdrop one, by using the pointed tip in the backwards manner. So the wide tip is used for holding also, gives a better control for the fingers. But these long ones are definitely beneficial, but a word of caution, these are extremely fragile. So we've seen them falling off the table and just breaking into two. So this is quite an expensive affair because it comes to having crayons which are frequently breaking. So parents cannot keep, go on buying them. So we want parents to have options which are feasible for long-term use. Once you know that these developmentally aged materials have been used, then it is easier to move on to the physiologically normally used materials such as pencils and so on. So children who have difficulty with holding, we recommend use of thicker pencils, and these accommodations are possible in the classroom. So if the school policies allow, it is good to integrate thicker pencils. A pencil brand which I firmly believe is Apsara has very good pencils. These are hexagonal thick pencils which can be used by children. Otherwise, most of the brands are pretty much expensive and they're not available in the Indian markets. So DOMS and Stabilo also have these grooved pencils. The aim of grooved pencils is that the children can hold the pencil better and it doesn't slip out because it's very smooth. We also feel that for pre-writing readiness, children need to have a concept, especially for children who find it difficult to write between the lines. Have just 3 lines with the bottom highlighted. So this accommodation is done for children who have difficulty even after repeated practice of writing between the lines. The way the teaching pedagogy happens in different schools and with different educators and with professionals is that whatever ideology is given, it has to be simple enough for most of the children to be able to understand that in a better manner. It is always beneficial to use a contrast paper, and the color specified is yellow because yellow has a very good contrast when it comes to children understanding where to start and where to stop in terms of writing. Now I'll move on to what is called as a finger gym, which is actually exercises through worksheets and finger activities which focus on developing the finger muscle strength, but that strength has to be done through play tasks. So how the finger gym benefits is because you use your fingers in different ways. So you're going to use touch two blue dots at the same time and go on and so forth. So it is using your finger muscles the way you utilize gym activities. So it could be using rubber bands. So these are cards where the rubber bands are used on individual fingers. So one finger has two rubber bands and the other finger has three rubber bands. So children have to look and use them. So if I'm going to tell you, show me putting two rubber bands in your thumb. So the child has to immediately pick up and put it. At the same time, use the fingers of the other hand to put the rubber bands into the fingers of the next hand. So this is also another concept which is called as four finger gym. So now they have to find in this picture, as you can see, they've used the index finger. So use the red dot everywhere. So they need to keep on touching. These are time-based activities. If you begin at the age of say 4.5 to 5, these really benefit children. I do not recommend using them before this age because the coordination of the individual finger muscles still has not come by 3 to 3.5. We also incorporate a concept which is called as brain aerobics, which is integrating both sides of the brain. So initially we had left brain learners, then the concept of right brain learning came. However, now medical science has collated the fact that the brain works as a whole. You cannot differentiate both the parts. They have to work in conjunction. So using physical activities, auditory activities, vision activities, using both sides of the body as well as the upper and the lower half of the body helps children to learn better and also improves their level of attention and writing. So if you're going to make circles with both the hands, so you make anti-clockwise, clockwise, you're going to take the right hand up and move the left leg is also a coordinated activity of the upper and the lower body are some of the examples. These brain aerobics enable children especially to differentiate the right and the left halves of the body very easily. So the main function is synchronizing all the sensory systems. That's extremely very important. So we generally start with the younger children having make a fist with both the hands, then open the thumb of one hand, keep the fist on. Now open the fist with the other hand. So one finger has a thumb up, one has a fist and so on. So finger exercises with a timed concept so that the reaction time is reduced in children. And then we go on to the next level where you're going to have coordinated activities involving the core muscles also. So these are higher level skills for children who are 6 and above. But these are very essential because they help to develop attention, body awareness, memory of the muscles, visual perception. So practically all areas of skill learning are included in these. So the early start pre-writing program majorly focuses on all these components what we see, and as educators we incorporate practically everything in all our tasks. The only thing is we should be able to identify as educationists which component is lacking. So we need to have a master sheet of this to ensure that the activities what we take in all are a part of this particular program. So as I mentioned, as a pediatric occupational therapist, generally have a pre-writing concept. So our tests also are designed on this particular thing, that there are ages at which children imitate the skill and they copy. So imitation is along with the individual, and copying means the picture is already drawn and they have to look and draw the same. So there are age ranges based on which, and if by the age of 6, all these are mastered, then most of the writing components will invariably come in. We also believe that pre-writing strokes have to be complemented with verbal prompts. That's very essential for children to understand the concept of spatial relations. So these are the stages of pre-writing which actually start with the development of gross motor skills and finally progress to writing skills. So some important aspect in school going situations, or even in or educators who work with children on specific components, children should not be encouraged to use markers, sketch pens, mechanical pencils, or thin pencils because they glide very easily. And the pressure does not appropriately come in. If markers and sketch pens are introduced at an early age, grasp significantly gets affected. And the thicker and the firmer control grasp instruments are always to be encouraged with younger children. So use a start and a stop point for children to understand from where to start and where to stop, so that that gives them an understanding of orientation in space. However, wean it off slowly. So you do not have to give a starting point always, because they're going to look for that cue and they do not develop the schema of the same in later years. We also have a concept of letter formation patterns where we have things like the sky, the plane, and the ground, because that helps which letter to start where. Now, every school has a different format. Educational patterns and learning technologies today have different ways to approach. However, the point to remember is that the formation of the letters needs to be tremendously focused upon before you go on to writing at a higher level, where children need to know from where it starts and where the letter stops. So I will just stop the share, and I'm just going to show the scissor because I thought it would have been, however, it is not available before we go on to. So for children, there is also a developmental pattern of using scissors. And the scissors which we normally recommend for children are use of scissors. So normally we have scissors which are blunt. So it could be, these are the scissors what we initially advocate. If you can see, this eye is a smaller one, which is for the thumb, and this is for the two fingers. If you can see the demarcation for the two fingers also, the space is curved here. This is a point of locking, lock and unlock. So these scissors are available in the local shops also. And then we move on to these scissors, which one eye is small for the thumb, and this is for the two fingers. Kindly note that the edges are blunt. They're curved so that children can write better. You could also have these kind of scissors for children to develop patterns for cutting. And then as children progress, these are the better ones. So by about 5 years of age, 5 to 6 years of age, you could use these. And these are the scissors which we normally use for older children, that is 6 and above. These serrations have also been incorporated. So these are not available in the Indian market. What we get in the Indian market are these ones. We normally prefer Indian brands like Faber-Castell and so on, but you can choose whichever you like. You also have left-handed scissors for children, and they are easily available online. So, and why left-handed scissors? Because they cut in a different way. So this is for children who are left-handed. 1 minute. So Fiskars is one brand which has left-handed scissors for children. And there is another brand called Scoobu, which I normally tell parents to use because it's blunt and it has a cover for closing the scissor after use. So very beneficial for children, and especially who are those ones which are left-handed. Yeah, so this takes care of the scissors. So I just thought I'll, because I've not added it. So I've tried to cover as much as I could on the mindful steps, what we need to work with children. I think we can take in questions, ma'am. If anyone would like to suggest, or if they have any specific questions.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Just wanted to know those learners who have dysgraphia.
Correct.
Okay. So, what kind of exercise can help them to better their grip and writing?
So, children who have been identified to have dysgraphia, the first important aspect is to check the age at which you're actually struggling with this. Because if it's a child who has a younger age, we can definitely look for options where they can work on their writing. But children who are about 10 or 12, it is pretty much difficult, where we can only focus on improving the quality of writing, because speed is not something which we're really looking at an older age. So at a
Okay.
younger age, we should look at how they work on the formation of letters. And most of the children with dysgraphia have a major difficulty that they don't complete the letters. The letters
Right.
are left halfway. So
Right.
focus on having ballpoint pens for writing,
Mm-hmm.
so that the pressure is created, because many a time gel pens are used. So gel pens are the worst for children with dysgraphia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Another question is with children who have autism. Okay, they cannot put pressure while writing. Okay,
correct.
how much will the gripper help, or should the gripper be weaned and given those nuts and bolt, the nuts that you showed in the picture? That
Correct.
will be a better option, or a gripper will be a better option with the nuts.
So ideally, I would suggest, depending on the child, you could use both the options. But the nuts and bolt will be definitely better because it's an external device. However, if a child on the spectrum has significant difficulty understanding and remembering
Mm.
how to hold the pencil, then I will still suggest that the gripper would be the best option for this situation, because you can try a compensatory approach if it is not working, that the child is still going into a faulty position. Because if the
So
child is, yeah.
if I give the one which you showed the
Definitely. So the clip works better. Why? Because there has to be some pressure put in there. Sometimes it can bend. So there is a natural resistance coming in. So grippers don't really give natural resistance. So the clip method or the ball method works beautifully with them.
So
The
if I give the clip and I
Yeah,
put some nuts on top, should
absolutely.
put
That's a
in
very good idea.
it will be a better idea, right?
Definitely. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Any more questions? I think we don't have any more questions, so we can call it a day. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, I'd just like to thank you before you sign off, Namita ma'am. This has been
Thank you so much.
very enlightening and truly a great learning experience. Been
Thank you
teaching
so
this
much.
for a long time, but these, a lot of things that I wasn't aware of, thanks to your session. I
Thank you
am
so
now
much,
well
ma'am.
equipped. I am now well equipped to guide teachers in the right way. Thank you so much for your time and all the knowledge that you shared.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Wonderful session. Very helpful.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for joining
Thank you.
and sharing your
Thank you.
valuable
Bye-bye.
knowledge. Bye bye. Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.